welcome back to Madness in the Method, the greatest Nicolas Cage podcast ever made, and that will ever exist. My name is Tobias, and with me as always is my friend and trusty co-host, Christopher.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. And today is a very, very special day, because it is the last, that's the last episode of this season. The third season, I think, of Madness in the Method. Is it the third?
Yeah, it is the third one. Yeah.
It's the third one. Yeah. We started out with the early days. Then we had the Oscar win and the salad day, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then we moved into the late 2000s and his
direct-to-DVD era.
Direct-to-DVD, yeah, exactly. His sort of downfall.
Yeah.
We're ending it right before his big resurgence in the late 2010s. So today we're talking about a movie we've kind of already talked about. It's the recut version of Dying of the Light called Dark.
Yeah.
If you remember, a few weeks back, well, a long time back, he made a lot of movies in the late 2010s, or the late 2000s and early 2010s. So, yeah, it's only a few years ago, but, I mean, what is it, 10 episodes ago or more?
I think it's 12 episodes ago or something, 11 maybe?
Yeah, and it's really only 4 years ago.
Oh, no, it's 3 years ago.
Oh, 3 years ago, Jesus Christ.
This is 2017. Dying of the Light was 2015.
Oh my god. Yeah. If you've been following along, you know how many movies he made in this era. This is probably going to be a little shorter episode because, like we said, we've already talked about this movie, and the movie isn't that much different. There are big differences, but I mean, in general, it's the same movie. So we'll talk about that. We'll do a little retrospect of this the dark era of Nicolas Cage, and then we'll say goodbye for a while. But we'll be back. We'll be back with the Renaissance era, the Mandy era, so to speak.
Oh.
Anyway, let's actually start it off with talking about Dark, the recut of Dying of the Light.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Paul Schrader, and edited by some guy and Paul Schrader. I don't remember.
Yeah. This is a weird one. It's a technically an unreleased movie.
Yes.
And it's sort of a recut based on the DVD version of Dying of the Light.
Yes. I watched an interview he did around the time this came out.
No.
At I think it was the Berlin Film Festival or something like that, some European film festival. We've talked about that time and time again when talking about this movie because we mentioned it before. He felt that the original movie wasn't really the movie he wanted to make. They kind of took it away from him and turned it into a generic run-of-the-mill action thriller. Which, he knew that that's what they wanted, and he sort of delivered, but they were like, yeah, but it's not commercial enough. So they commercialized this movie even more. We're talking about Paul Schrader here, of course. The guy who wrote Taxi Driver. A very, very singular voice in Hollywood. Even back then, definitely now. So him making a commercial movie like this, I understand why, because it was it's a paycheck. He still needs to make money. But he of course wanted to make a good movie as well. And they were like, we're not interested in a good movie. Just get us a product we can sell. 3
action scenes and barely a story about terrorists.
I mean, that was literally what they said. He had a story, and they were like, sure, we'll produce it for you, but we want 6 action scenes. I think it was exactly 6 action scenes with this much time in between, and you need to keep the movie under 100 minutes or something. And he's like, okay. So he just put in some extra action scenes. But they weren't happy with it, so they took the movie away from him during edit, and the movie that came out was not the movie he wanted to make.
No.
So then he offered to recut the movie for free.
and even to pay from his own pocket all the expenses that would be needed for the equipment and the editor and all that.
He would hire all the people. All he wanted for them was the raw material, so he could make the version he wanted to make from the stuff they shot, and they could release it. They could, make extra money off the new DVD, or just put it out as a different, director's cut or whatever. He didn't care as long as he got to release the movie he had in mind. And they were like, "No, not interested." He's like, "What?" Which is, I don't understand that. It was literally free money for them.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're thinking.
I can't see a real reason. More than maybe if there's like, because that, I guess that was the movie was barely released by then or something like that. It's close to release, at least when he offered.
Around the release, yes.
Yeah. So the only reason I can see, which I wouldn't say is a good reason, but the only reason I can see is that they thought it would like compete with their version or something like that, or muddy up the water of which one they would make money on and the other one, something like that. But there's again, that's speculation. We have no
of course, because they never gave him a reason. They just blank said nope. But I'm guessing there's some sort of economic reason, just like the fact that the Warner Brothers never released the Batgirl movie they made, like last year or this year, whatever it was. Even though it was like 90% finished, they were like, "We're not releasing it because we're going to lose money on it." It's like, what? What do you mean? But there's distribution costs. They got to finish the special effects. They got to spend money on PR. So I'm guessing they saw, like, even if we put minimal amount of money into this, we're not going to make the money back. So something like that, I'm supposing.
Yeah.
It sucks, but that's what it is. So he managed, though, to get a hold of the like workprint version of the movie. The rough version, which isn't fully mixed, and there's still like stuff in it. It's just like a quick version they throw together at first, so you can look at it and then start trimming it down with actual edits. And it's with that workprint DVD, it was on a DVD, so it was already degraded in quality, that he and his editor from the movie he had just released at that point, Dog Eat Dog, which is another movie we talked about, he had the editor from that movie go through the workprint DVD and like, can we make something fun with this? Because his, like, it's kind of funny. I don't know if did you watch that interview that we found about the movie?
No, I didn't.
Okay, because it was kind of funny between Dying of the Light and Dog Eat Dog, or I guess between Dying of the Light and Dark, he kind of had a sea change in how he looked at filmmaking. Because before Dark, it was very rigid. You could write kind of crazy stuff, but how you make a movie is very like, it's like this and this and that. But then he worked with all these young people because that's the only thing he could afford when he made Dog Eat Dog, and we talked about it when we talked about that movie. It's a very like it's almost like freestyle. It's like jazz, that movie. It's very weird.
Yeah.
I almost want to call it like Dadaist at points. And that's because he worked with all these new people he'd never worked with before. These, film school people who had a new look on film that he hadn't worked with before. So he asked the editor from Dog Eat Dog, I don't remember the name of him, to help him re-edit Dying of the Light. And the first thing that guy did, because, he's a pretentious film student, was to film certain scenes off of the monitor in the editing suite with his phone to make it more, weird and grainy and zoomed in, and use that in the movie to kind of simulate Nicolas Cage's character's declining mental state, because he's brain damaged.
Yeah.
Those are the scenes that are really the big changes in the movie. Like, the style of the editing. The plot is basically the same.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the plot is technically the same, but it's as you said, it's more of a focus difference. What's the point of the movie, and what are we meant to focus on? In the original movie, The Diamond Light, as you might remember if you listened to that one, there is a lot of this. It's more focused on his last mission. His last mission he's gonna do. It's more of a sort of a. I wouldn't say John Wick. That's the wrong, but this kind of one more job. I'm out of it, but I'm gonna do this one, even if it kills me.
It's very plot driven.
Yeah, and this version is more on will it kill him? It's more of again. It's not. I will do this if it kills me. This is more. Will he do it or does it kill him? Sort of thing.
It's more character driven. It's a more of a question of why instead of how.
Yeah,
basically.
And the way that this one is cut, obviously by everything we've said about how it came to be, it is very very much a rough cut. It's very much of a proof of concept, sort of. It's more of this is what you show someone. This feels a sort of vibe of a pilot to show before you make the show, sort of. That this is what I want to do, but you can see limitations of what he didn't do, but what he wanted to do. And I think I want to agree with what the IMDb score says. This is a better movie. It's a more interesting movie, but it is also not that fun to watch, especially when you've seen the original.
No, it feels very very disjointed.
Yeah.
While the story or whatever is more interesting, the way it's been cobbled together here, I think it's harder to watch because of the technical limitations. I mean, there are literally scenes where they have, because the music was put on through the workprint DVD, and they didn't want to use the music that was in the movie, so they just, put other music on top of the already existing score, and try to turn the volume down, because they still want the, grunt, the chase scene in, what is it, not Russia, whatever, the snowy scenes. Ukraine?
I think it's Ukraine.
Yeah. They still want to use that chase scene when they're running through the market. So they want to have all the when they're fighting and falling over and stuff. But they don't want to use that music, so they just turn the volume down and then put their own music over that. It sounds so weird.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have all these weird zoom-ins with the phone stuff. And which there aren't too much of in those scenes because it's not important in those scenes. But it's still there. And it's hard to watch. And it's also kind of weird because they did use, and I don't know, I don't know how much, because I've only seen one other work print, and that was a Blade Runner work print, but that was released, so I don't know how much of that was actually a work print, or just that they used a work print to release a movie with. But in this version of the, in this version of the movie, there are alternate takes of some scenes. I found out. So I'm wondering if there were duplicates of scenes on this workprint DVD, and they had different takes. I guess they could have that, so you can watch them in succession and then see which one they're going to use for the actual edit. Because there are, I think they use a slightly different version of the opening "You have values" speech. Some takes of that feel different. That's the one that stood out the most. And then there's one more, the first time he talks with his boss. Not when he gets fired. The first one, when he talks about, I think Banir is still alive. Banir is the terrorist he's looking for. That one, he's not as unhinged in this version of the movie as he was in Dying of the Light. So I'm guessing they used alternate takes.
Yeah, because that's the one when they're, where's that one? There's one of the scenes, I don't remember if the one is get fired or not, where they do this intercutting between him screaming and being still. where it's sort of, which is a pretty good show of what editing can do. It just shows how he is on the inside and what he portrays outside.
Yeah,
and he uses that a few times, and I think that's different cuts, you say, where they handle those scenes differently, I guess. Or something like that. I don't know. So that's one of the things that I liked about this movie, because they used that thing a few times, and then they used it sort of in reverse at times. That they sort of he's in the beginning he's calm on the outside and explosive on the inside, but at the end he's calm on the inside but explosive on the outside, sort of.
Yeah.
And they showed just deterioration of his mind, and I think that was one of the big good changes of this one. Really changed how you see the character, really. Because in the original, he seems very competent. He seems like a competent guy who sometimes forgets some words.
Yes.
In this one, he seems a lot more unhinged and really sort of dangerous and unpredictable.
Because that makes it feel like that was obviously the focus of the original script. To like, this is he's a CIA agent. He's a patriot. He feels like he has he has values. He's an American, but at this point he's more of a burden to his country than an asset, even though he doesn't feel like that. And there's that juxtaposition, which is interesting, and that really comes across a lot more in this version of the movie, because he progressively gets more and more his mind deteriorates in a much more like progressive. It's not just back and forth like in the original.
Yeah,
he actually gets worse and worse here, and by the end, we're not sure what we're watching.
Yeah. Speaking of the ending, what did you think of the ending?
The ending was interesting, and he literally loses his mind in the end. The original end is him killing Banir and like leaving.
Then had retaliation from Banir's guys, right?
Oh yes.
That's afterwards, right? Yeah.
That scene is completely cut out, like the ending action scene, which felt very, very unnecessary. It's completely removed from this version, and here it is just him sitting down talking to Banir before killing him. But as they're talking, which was in the original, they start talking about why we do the things we do, and they're both like men of great conviction, blah blah blah. One is a terrorist and the other is they're both patriots, is basically what they're going for. It's just that they deal with their patriotism in different ways and stuff like that. And that's still here, but now it's the sole focus of the scene. Problem is, since he's losing his mind in this scene, there's more and more static, more and more like like you can't even hear what they're saying anymore, and there's just colors on the screen, and eventually you don't hear anything. It is just like TV static, basically. It looks like something out of 2001, when he travels forward in time.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of that, but it's very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, and you just see glimpses of him, you see glimpses of Banir, and you hear like a word here and there, and then the movie just cuts out. And you're just like, oh, they're going to end it there? And I think his original intent was maybe to have cut back to him having actually killed Banir, and him like almost like in a daze, like, oh shit, I just did that, and that's the end. Yeah. Like he didn't know what he was doing, but they couldn't really do that because that's not really how it happened in the actual scene where they filmed. So they just cut the movie before that. So we don't know. Maybe he just died there in the room with Banir.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's a bit of a cop-out, but I understand why. I thought it was interesting. I can definitely see, like, normal people who maybe enjoy Dying of the Light or movies like that, going, what is going on? This sucks.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe that's what are they called? Grindstone or whatever the company who released the movie, they realize like, oh shit, he's gonna make something artsy with this. It's gonna ruin everything. Fuck
we
it.
hired the artsy director and he made an artsy movie? Damn!
Damn
How could this have happened?
We need to stop hiring artists. Let's start hiring yes men instead.
But yeah, that's the way I interpret the ending, which I like the ending. I really like the ending. It was a little too long, but that's...
Yes.
I write that up too, just he didn't have much to work with, so I'll forgive him for that. But the way I interpret the ending is that because they put more focus in this cut on the line you have a disease of the brain, I have a disease of the blood.
Yes.
This thing that they're both sort of at the end of their rope, and they're both gonna die soon. There's nothing. They're both fine with it, sort of. They're both come to terms with that. It's the end of it all, and I think do we know if he killed him in Dying of the Light? Is that
Dying of the Light? Yes, we see
confirmed.
him cut his throat. Yes.
Oh yeah,
right. And then they run
right.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in this one, I think the interpretation is that it doesn't really matter how it ended.
No.
If he got killed, if he died there, if Benir got killed, if he got away, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the line, they're both dead. And it doesn't really change really anything. And that's the sort of the sadness of the movie, that this last mission that he goes on, this last suicide mission, it was for nothing for anyone. It didn't matter at all.
And that's kind of interesting, because that's what his peers were saying all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's been 20 years since we last heard from Benir. He hasn't committed any acts of terrorism since then. We basically shut him down, and now we know he's slowly dying of this blood disease. How about we just let him die? Yeah. And it's what's his name? Evan Lake, Nicolas Cage's character.
Yeah.
It's more his pride that is on the line. I mean, I also understand, like, because of his line of work, it feels like he's leaving a stone unturned. So, and also it's personal since Benir tortured him, which we see constantly in the movie, like physically manifested in his ear, who's like ripped.
Yeah.
So I can understand him, but I also like let it go, especially now that they say like he has like weeks left when he talks to the doctor.
Yeah.
Like let it go. Like what's his name? Anton Yelchin says in the movie, like, just focus on, something better than this. But he doesn't really have anything better. That's the problem. He says that as well. My work is my family. So he can't really focus on something. It's a really sad story about a sad man.
Yeah. That is interesting to have such a. I guess that is the Schrader way. He does this. I wouldn't say a lot, but it keeps coming back in his work. This sad little men who do things that doesn't matter and isn't appreciated or anything like that. They try their best to do something. It's same in The Taxi Driver, where he decides to clean up the streets, and no, he doesn't change anything really.
No, it doesn't change anything. He just kills a bunch of people.
Yeah, and Dog Eat Dog is the same thing, where these men are gonna go and do this final job, so they're gonna be happy finally. But it doesn't really matter. They're never gonna be happy. It's all good. It's all gonna be the same. Yeah, even if they have a bunch of money, they're still gonna fuck it up somehow, which they eventually do. And that's the same with this with Evan Lake. He's just this guy who tries his best to do good, and it's also this sort of, I don't know if that is the disease or if it's more his stable mind talking, but this thing he talks about, that CIA doesn't leave anyone behind, and it doesn't betray anyone, and it doesn't let people go, and it's this weird hard cut black and white moral code that he sort of goes by. Yeah. Even though the world is grey.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's what the movie starts with. Like, when he talks about the new recruits, like, you're here because you have values.
Yeah.
Problem is, if you know anything about the CIA, you know they have no values. And I think that's also part of the commentary there. That like, if you want to be like a true patriot, if you love your country, want to serve your country, you shouldn't work for the CIA. They do nothing but try and like fuck people over, even Americans, not just other countries. So I'm sure there's a bit of critique there, like critiquing the government. But then also, this distorted worldview of a desperate man, which, it's very much a Paul Schrader thing. He keeps coming back to it because I think he's struggling himself with like, living in a world without, a clear black and white, like good and evil thing. And I think he's trying to make sense of it all throughout these movies. And it sucks that First Reformed is not going to be talked about in this podcast, the movie he made after Dark, or the same year as Dark. Because that has this. I've mentioned this before, and it's really a movie everyone should watch. I've said it to you as well. Watch First Reformed, because it has the same thing. It's a man lost in modern America, not knowing how he can save the people he loves and his country that he loves, and ultimately going for a desperate Hail Mary move at the end. But since Schrader has been trying to figure this out since the 70s in Taxi Driver, it has a different ending this time. I don't want to spoil too much, but I'm just saying that. So, yeah.
Which one did you say? Could you just
First Reformed.
First Reformed, yeah.
Yes, with Ethan Hawke plays the priest.
Yeah. Yes.
Definitely check that one out. Especially if you like Paul Schrader's movies. But if you like movies in general, check that one out. Also want to mention, speaking of Ethan Hawke, he's actually in this movie, Dark. He does the narration. Yeah.
Oh.
In the beginning, when they talk about Evan Lake's disease of the mind, that's Ethan Hawke. Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
And then when they cut to in another part of our story, when you start talking about Bernier's blood disease, that's Ethan Hawke. So that was awesome.
I don't know though if why we had that voice. I don't know if that was needed in any way.
I think it is to kind of to once again show. I'm going to use, since we're talking about the season, I'm going to use the fancy word here, the chirality of the story. That you have two men on opposite sides of a spectrum, but they are very similar. Like we said, they're both men of conviction, both patriots, but they go about using their patriotism and working for their goals in very different ways. And then they both suffer, one mentally, one physically. So kind of having these two chapters of the movie, which I think they're kind of trying to make it. It's another not dichotomy, but splitting down the middle, one on this side, one on the other side. I think they're going for something like that, and that's why they wanted to have two moments in the movie where they talk about the different diseases to kind of mirror, but also separate the characters, which is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the concept is interesting. I don't know if the voice added anything. That's all I'm saying. To have someone tell you that.
I mean, I think it's just part of him using different methods of storytelling. Like this was because that's what Dark is. It's an experiment in how to make a movie a different way. Basically, that's what he talked about in that interview when they premiered this movie at that film festival, whatever it was. Like how you can make movies in different ways. Which is kind of funny because the movie made after this, First Reformed, was very traditional. The thing that did change was his way of writing, I suppose. So I don't know. He had his weird kooky face with Dog Eat Dog in this.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still weird and kooky. I don't know if you follow him on Facebook.
No.
He's very vocal.
As I said in Diable Light, I'm not a big fan of him generally. I think he's interesting, but I'm just not enjoying his movies. I enjoy it. I know that I enjoy the talking about it and speculating, but just watching them is usually just kind of a drag.
Okay.
So that's sort of how I feel about him.
Yeah.
I'm happy I've seen his movies, but I don't want to see them again, and I'm not really excited to see any new of him.
Oh, okay. I gotta say, I am the opposite there. I have grown more and more fond of him, because I'll say that. I don't think Taxi Driver is like the greatest movie ever, which a lot of people say. I think that definitely has problems. I do like the writing, though. Well. And the more I've seen of Paul Schrader in his later years, like First Reformed and The Card Counter, which came out a couple of years ago, and he made a new movie this year, which I haven't seen yet, Master Gardener. I think he's like one of the best writers working right now, and directors, because he's directing all these movies nowadays. I really enjoy him.
Well, yeah, I concede that he's one of the great directors, definitely, and writers. I'm just not having fun at all. It's
sure.
All the stories are about pointless, feudal lives.
Yeah,
that doesn't matter, and everything is hard and annoying, and it's just okay, great. Then why did I need to watch this again? Yeah, I've seen 4 of your movies. They're the same story with different skins.
Yeah. And that continues in his new movies as well. It's just, there's nuance there. And wonderful performances. Anyway.
But yeah, I again, just going back to Dark, I think Dark is a fine movie. I like it, again, because it's Paul Schrader. I don't want to see it again. But it's a lot better than Dying in the Light, and I really want to see what he wanted to make.
Yes, I would have
put it like that.
I would have loved to seen this version of the movie when he had all the material to work with.
Yes,
the actual movie that he wanted to make. I would love to see that. This is still a compromise.
Yeah, it is a compromise, but a compromise more on his side, than on the studios. That Dying in the Light was.
Yes,
it was barely a compromise. So I think if someone out there, for some reason, is listening to this podcast and haven't listened to Dying in the Light podcast and haven't seen either of the movies, I would say there's been maybe one person in the world.
Maybe,
I would recommend to see Dark and just skip Dying of the Light.
Yeah.
Dark is, and it's just an hour, and you can find it free on the Internet Archive.
Yes.
It's fine. That's more or less my review of the movie. It's a good concept. It's good concept art. Yeah. And I would have wanted to see it realized, but unfortunately we'll never do.
We'll never get. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the raw material exists out there.
Well.
So maybe, but that chance is 1 in a million. So probably not.
Yeah. And I don't think he's interested in doing that now.
No, I think he's put that behind him. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Which is, unlike his characters, he has let go of that, which is good. Good. I mean, there are no reviews for this. There are some user reviews. What is the user score on IMDb?
So the user score is 6.2 out of 387 reviews.
And do you know what the Dying of the Light score was?
Dying Light was 4.5 out of 11,000 reviews.
Okay, yeah.
And I sort of agree of that. Those two sort of. And there's only one review on IMDb for this.
Jesus. Yeah.
And it's a 9 out of 10.
Which is I'll say that's a little high, but sure.
Well. And it's mostly, the review is mostly just him talking about the production of it.
Yeah.
And he seems to like Paul Schrader. Dark gives us an above average Cage performance with solid support from Gone Too Soon Anton Yelchin. Highly recommended for those who are fans of Schrader and Cage.
Yeah.
That's more or less it. I don't know why he gave it a 9 out of 10. He doesn't seem that excited of it, but I guess.
That's also kind of funny to point out, or funny, I don't know, it's not funny. I think Anton Yelchin died around the same time this came out, because he died in 2017, right?
Ooh, I don't remember. I know it was after just before the second Star Trek movie. I remember.
No, before the third one, because he's
he's
in the second one. Yeah.
All right, I forgot there were 3 of them.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's so sad because no one remembers the third one, even though that's actually the best one of those 3. But I can understand why. He died. 2016. Okay, so he died the year before. Wow. But yeah, that's also noted. It was basically the last thing that Anton Yelchin worked on was this, because he actually did it back in 2013.
Oh, and just to put the record straight, it was the second Star Trek movie I forgot existed, not the third one.
Oh, okay.
I don't even think I saw the second one. I think that's
good for you, because that movie is horrific. It is so bad, that Into Darkness movie. It sucks.
Yeah, because or is it because the wait, which one is Khan?
That's the second one, Into Darkness.
Okay, then it's the third one I haven't seen.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Benedict Cumberbatch Khan movie is awful, I think, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I saw it and I thought it was it's Star Trek. I don't really care. But yeah, so anything else regarding Dark? I don't really have anything more to say. There's not much to say.
Not really.
Since we'd already done the movie.
Yeah, we can't really talk about the plot because it's the same plots.
Yeah, it's just the review of the director's cut.
Yeah.
Or the review of the editing. That's more or less what this is.
Yes, exactly.
What will you give it?
Well, this has pros and cons over Dying of the Light. Yeah. It's a better put together movie, but it's also annoying to watch. I gave Dying of the Light 5, I think.
Yeah, we both gave it a 5.
So I can't give this much higher because it's still not a great movie. It's a better version of a bland movie. So I'll give it a strong 6, almost a 7.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm the same. I would give the potential of the movie. Now seeing what it is.
Yeah.
Was his recut? This was I would stretch this could be an 8. I think.
Yes.
If he would have done whatever he wants.
Yes.
But I give this a 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also.
It's sad. It's literally what we've been talking about this entire season, and here it's actually like literally the case. Like this is a lost opportunity.
Yeah. 100%.
100%.
And yeah, I guess that's sort of the end of season 3.
Yeah. Direct
to DVD. So what do you think about this season? The movies, not our performance, Nicolas Cage performance.
Nicolas Cage performance, as we've talked about this entire season, even in the worst movies, he is mostly, giving it his all. There are times he phoned it in, but for, even in those terrible movies like I don't know, Pay the Ghost and Stolen. I don't want to say The Frozen Ground because even The Frozen Ground, which was probably the worst one this season. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the new Firebirds.
Oh yeah. He is still pretty good in it sometimes. Like he is a consummate professional. It doesn't matter what movie he makes, and I that is something that I think got kind of lost in the memification of Nicolas Cage, which happened during this time of his career. This is where he became the meme. First because he was making so many movies, and then people starting, seeing his crazy performances.
No.
People kind of forgot that he's actually like a really, really good actor, and he became a meme. He became a parody almost, which has now turned into then. The meme kind of became a meme, and now people like him again, but I'm not sure if it's ironic or not.
I think it's what people call post-ironic at this point.
Oh, right, that's probably what it is. Yes.
Yeah, there was. You started watching movies. I mean, that was the thing that we. I think we even did back in the day. Have Nicolas Cage nights where we look at the worst ones and laugh at Nicolas Cage, the weird meme guy. let's watch Wicker Man again. Come on, it's gonna be funny. I mean, it's like that. People did that. That was like a thing. And I think if you do that long enough, you start to see that he is a good actor, and you really start to like him. Maybe you don't want to 100% admit it to yourself that you actually realize how good he is, and really enjoy watching him, not laughing at him, but just he's a good actor. He grabs you through the scene at some movies.
Yeah, because that kind of ruins the fun of it. Like, these are terrible movies, but he's actually good. Then it's not as funny anymore.
and then it did some movies like Mandy, for example, where people were allowed to actually appreciate him for real, which they had done for years at that point, but they didn't dare to say it. That's my armchair psychology analysis of it.
Yeah, you're probably more or less right. It sounds right. And then also, like, watching these movies now for this podcast, we've done it with a, not for the fun of it, but with a more critical eye.
Yeah.
That's when you see that, even though the movie is bad, he is rarely terrible. He's almost always at least good in the movies.
Yeah, there's the only movies where he is quote unquote terrible is where the direction is off, where he is directed wrongly. Or there is some kind of disagreement behind the scenes,
which is something we've talked about. We figured that out even in the first season. I think he needs first of all to have a director that knows how to utilize his performance, and also he needs co-stars who can be on his wavelength. If you find that, because he's a bit difficult to work with. I understand that. But if you find the director who can rein him in and let him loose, when it's needed, and then have people on his wavelength who can vibe with his vibe, you have magic. Then you have movies from this season like Bad Lieutenant, National Treasure, Book of Secrets. Even you have Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah, and even in the small roles like in Kick-Ass and. What is there some other role he did?
Well,
well, Joe, sort of.
Joe, definitely.
He's maybe not a small role, but he's not really the main character either.
No.
But even in those roles, he really shines. When someone tells him what he needs to do, and it's something he can do. Yeah. He's amazing.
He's a loose cannon of acting. So you need to focus that beam of energy into his performance, and then you can pinpoint it and make it amazing. Yeah. And that's when you get movies like say what you will about the movie, but his performance in Army 1, amazing. His performance in The Trust, which was kind of a whatever movie, amazing performance.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I really liked what's the one? Stolen, the heist movie with Malin Åkerman. Great performance. Pretty fun heist movie, even though it's a bullshit movie,
Wow.
Stuff like that.
And then we have this where they don't utilize him at all or misinterpret him, which is Inconceivable is a perfect example.
God, yes.
Or USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage.
Oh God.
Pay the Ghost is also really the movie isn't that bad, but they don't use him at all.
No, he's just generic guy. Could have been anyone. Why Nicolas Cage?
Yeah.
No. Or of course, we mentioned Frozen Ground. Everything is just wrong about that one, though. I don't know. There's no saving that by using another actor or something. It is just awful.
But that big problem with Frozen Ground is the editing.
Oh yeah,
at least that is and
the cinematography.
The editing and the cinematography just ruins that movie completely for some reason. I don't know what's going on there.
No, that was a complete failure.
So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to that one. So I just now looking over it, I haven't really realized it before, but we have more or less perfectly encapsulated all these seasons is 10 years of his career.
Oh, yeah.
So the first season, The Road to the Oscar, that was 12 years.
83 to 95. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh. And then Miss Superstar, that's exactly 10 years.
Yep.
96 to 2006.
Those
one.
were the good times.
And this is also 10 years, 2007 to 2017.
But he made twice as many movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think this chunk, if you're gonna skip one season, if you're gonna watch all Nicolas Cage movies, this is the season to skip. I'd say this.
Oh yeah, definitely. There are some good. I can't say highs, but there are like mids here, definitely.
Yeah, but there are some movies that I would say in here that in this season that you need to watch if you really want to go through. If you want to go through Nicolas Cage's career and see his again, not highs, but noteworthy performances.
Yeah,
there are some here. Again, Bad Lieutenant.
Yes, definitely.
Is a must for any Nicolas Cage marathon.
Yeah, if I have to pick one, it's that one.
Yeah, definitely. And then again, Joe also won.
Mm-hmm.
Any other you think?
I would say I know I liked it more than you did. Well, no, not really. Wait, where is it? Dog Eat Dog.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's fine. I gave it a 7. It's a 7.
Yeah.
But it's very chaotic, and
very chaotic.
I don't think Nicolas Cage is like the thing you're there to see. He's
really.
Not stand out in that movie. He's good. He's very good in the performance, but it's not. If you want to see, if you want to have a Nicolas Cage marathon, that's not a movie I would put in.
Maybe not, but it is the perfect, because Paul Schrader knew exactly how to utilize him in it. That's what I think.
But I would say rather if you're gonna have another marathon that movie would fit better in is Willem Dafoe marathon.
Oh,
then I think
yes,
Dog Eat Dog should be in. That's a must in that for him.
Yeah, sure.
Not for Nicolas Cage.
Okay, so switch out Dog Eat Dog to I would say then Army of One.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go for good performances because he's a lot of fun in that movie. That movie can be a little annoying, but I really liked him in it.
Yeah, I agree. He was fun in that one.
Yeah. But speaking of if you want to skip some season, skip this one. If you can only so far though, we have of course the last season, so to speak, left.
Yeah.
So we can't talk about that one. But out of these 3 seasons, which one would you pick? If you could only watch one era of him, which one would you pick?
Oh, one era?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would go Road to the Oscar, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good spread of movies. There are some really good artsy movies. There's some weird actiony movies. There's some fun performances. There's some great performances too. Yeah. And it's just overall great. It's just great. I think the Mrs. Superstar season 2, where he was on the top of the world.
Yeah.
There's some good ones there, but it's sort of samey.
Yes.
Most.
Yeah, because
it's very. There's not no good spread of direction and action and comedy and stuff like that.
There's definitely good movies in there, but it's more of just he's a regular leading man in Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
Which can be good, but it's not as interesting as movies like Leaving Las Vegas, Red Rock West, Deadfall. Vampire's Kiss, of course, and Valley Girl.
Yeah. I rewatched Red Rock West a little while ago. I had to show it to some friends. They did not like it.
Oh, really?
Weirdos.
Yeah, that's such a great little crime thriller mystery movie. I loved it.
Me too. And I still do.
Yeah.
It works as a rewatch. Definitely works as a rewatch.
Okay. Well, you gotta get better friends. That's the solution.
That's true. So if you were gonna put up, just because we're talking about it, if you want to put up a Nicolas Cage marathon, and you had to pick 2 movies from every season of these 3 seasons.
Ooh, 2 from each. Jesus.
Yeah. What would it be?
I'm of course tempted from the first season to pick Vampire's Kiss, but I don't think that is indicative of his acting in that era.
Yeah,
I love that performance, but
okay, so let me rephrase it. Put it like this is gonna be sort of a crash course of this podcast.
Okay,
like this is how to get to know Nicolas Cage and show if you meet someone who's like, I don't like Nicolas Cage, I don't get him. And you're like, okay, I'm going to show you 6 movies. You're going to change your mind.
Okay. first season, I'd go with Moonstruck and shit. Yeah, no, fuck it. Leaving Las Vegas. I have to go with Leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You can't leave that one out. It's so good. So Moonstruck, Leaving Las Vegas. Second season, I have to go with Con Air. That made me question my sexuality. And then probably, honestly, well, no, it's The Wicker Man. You have to go with The Wicker Man there.
All right.
It's so hard to pick just two, but that is such such an iconic performance. You have to pick that one. And then from the third season, wow. Bad Lieutenant and honestly, maybe The Trust, to kind of not get like his best performance, but it's a shitty little B-tier movie, but he's good in it.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna choose for the first one. I'm gonna choose Wild at Heart.
That would have been a good pick
and,
as well.
And Leaving Las Vegas. That's a must.
Yeah.
I can say. I'm gonna skip Wicker Man for the second season.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Interesting.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with Bring Out the Dead.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And Adaptation.
Oh, you see, it's so hard to pick just two. I didn't even think of those two. Damn it.
Yeah.
Or Snake Eyes. Fuck.
Snake Eyes.
Or Captain Curtis Mandolin. He's really good in that one.
Yeah, he is.
Shit.
He is.
Oh.
And then for this season, I'm gonna go with. This season is the hardest. But I'm gonna go with. It's gotta be Bad Lieutenant. It's gotta be. Yeah. It's gotta be Bad Lieutenant. And then I'm thinking maybe it's between Army of One.
I was thinking of that one too. Yeah.
And wait, which one was? Oh, right. Not because it's a good one. No, that's not anything. I was thinking Outcast, but he's not that much in it.
No,
he's not that much in it. If he was more in it, that one. No, Season of the Witch. Yeah,
oh,
Bad Lieutenant, Season of the Witch. Bad Lieutenant, Season of the Witch. Yeah,
yeah. That's very much. That encapsulates everything about this season.
Yeah,
Season of the Witch. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's my choice. Again, I would. You need all six for it to work.
Yes.
You can't go with Adaptation Season of the Witch. You can't go with that one. That's not a good night.
That's very, very different. Yeah.
You gotta go in that order.
Yes. To show the width and breadth of his performance. Yeah.
Yeah. Season of the Witch is like sort of the last. Just I know he can be in weird movies too. But yeah. Again, this season it's a lot better than I thought. I was dreading this.
Yeah.
We kept dreading it throughout the entire season. Every week we were like, oh no, not one more. But happily surprised almost every time.
Yes.
There was a few movies, obviously, Frozen Ground, standing out. That was a horror to go through, but most of the movies, even if there were bad scores, they were enjoyable.
Yeah, they were decent, you know.
Yeah, there was nothing that were like. Oh, well, there were a few, but most of it wasn't like, oh, God.
No.
Can it be over? There's not many of those.
The ones I can really just, like, off the top of my head, that I wish I'd never watched were like, Tokarev, Frozen Ground, I don't even remember. What the fuck was Trespass? Oh, yeah, Trespass, ugh. And
which one was that? I don't know.
Exactly. It's the it's the one where people break into he's a wealthy banker guy.
When he burns. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. And I guess Bangkok Dangerous. That sucked. Yeah. Those are really the only ones that I never wish to watch again. The rest were fine. You know.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Maybe USS Indianapolis. Yeah.
USS Indianapolis, Frozen Ground.
Oh, Inconceivable. But you could watch that and laugh at it though. I laughed a lot at that movie.
And yeah, I like that movie, so I get it.
Oh, right,
so,
right.
I mean, I have nothing against it. I'm not gonna watch it again, but yeah, I would say it's the same. It's sort of this. It's more interesting than Trespass.
Yes.
I mean, it's.
If this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, check out our episode on Inconceivable. It's an interesting one because I am. I don't know if you can hear in my voice, but I'm genuinely flabbergasted when Christopher is like giving it a. You like talk about it like it's a potential 8, and I was like, oh, what? But you state your case, and I disagree, but I respectfully disagree.
Yep.
So yeah.
But yeah, overall, it was a good season.
Yeah.
Not as good as the first 2.
No.
But it was good.
It's good.
Didn't hate it.
No.
And yeah, I guess that's that.
That's that.
Time for a little break.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage for a while.
And we'll be back with a much shorter one, starting of course with Mandy. And then I know we technically had the last one as Willy's Wonderland, but I would say because he's made so many more movies even since we started this podcast, I would say the last one we have on the list here now is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And I would say that could be a good cutoff point because it's literally a movie about Nicolas Cage and the concept Nicolas Cage more than the character.
You haven't seen that one, right?
I have seen it.
Oh, damn it!
I've seen a lot of the new ones, unfortunately.
I'm thinking it's gonna be so good when you watch his whole entire career.
Yeah,
and then they have that at the end.
That's why I think we should end it with that one.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, we'll be back from time to time to do movies we skipped or when he does a new movie. But that's going to be the end of the serialization, the official ending, of this podcast. Yeah. But that's for next season. So don't worry, we still have a few episodes to do. If you wanna support this podcast, for the last season here, and get early access to the episodes before we release them everywhere, check us out on patreon.com/don'tmakeascene. You'll also get exclusive episodes of my other podcast, the Spoilercast. There's commentary tracks, there's exclusive videos, a bunch of stuff. Tell your friends and family. But also, if you're just listening to this, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next season. But until then, have a good one. Bye!
Bye, everyone.
Madness in the Method is part of Please Don't Make a Scene. It is produced and directed by Tobias Widén, and hosted by Christopher Billén and Tobias Widén. Executive producer is Annika Widén. I also want to give a huge shout out to all our patrons: Laura Kinney, Mom, Dad, Christopher Billén, Danny Del Gaiso.